quick note about the post for today before I start reading it. It was originally posted on April 7th, 2021, when Ontario had gone back into what I believe was our third or fourth lockdown. There was a lot of frustration around that. Gyms were closed again, but some things were left open. And so there was a lot of frustration and differing opinions on what should and should not be happening. And it was around that kind of started this post being written. So I kept it in its original condition, but obviously at this point when I'm recording this, we're actually coming to an end of COVID restrictions, so it's a bit of a different situation. So just bearing in mind when this was written, before I start reading it. Rome wasn't built in a day, and it requires a lot of maintenance. Here in Ontario, it has been a rough week. I'm sure it has been in a lot of places in the world, but I only know what it's like to live where I do. Here we've gone back into lockdown, but with very different, seemingly much looser rules this time, and it's creating a great deal of tension and frustration. Everyone I've talked to in the last week is tired. Many have told me they're just over it. They're mad at the people who won't follow the rules, the people who shirk responsibility, that the rules have created an uneven playing field, but also people are largely just sad and lonely. The situation is polarizing and it wears on even the most motivated of people. Some days I'm getting close to 20,000 steps, lifting weights, eating healthy foods, and sleeping well. Others I'm eating donuts for breakfast and binge watching Parks and Recreation while spending the day on my laptop. This is far and away from usual for me, but I know it's an exception to the rule. If you do any reading on how to be healthy, you will find the word consistent a lot. Eat healthy consistently, exercise consistently, consistent sleep, consistent wake up and bedtimes, consistent, consistent, consistent. Too bad it's an extremely subjective word. To me, consistent could mean 6 out of 7 days a week. To you, it could mean every single day without fail. To someone else, it could mean try your best, but it is what it is. So what is consistent? For me, the best definition of consistent is that day to day, my goal is to hit the targets I've set for myself. Whole foods, at least some moderate exercise, 10,000 steps, 8 hours of time in bed, up between 5:30 and 6:30 each morning, in bed around 10. I don't hit Saturday and say, woohoo, weekend, staying up late, sleeping in, binge drinking and eating and laying on the couch all day. My goals on the weekend are similar to during the week. I still try to move, I still try to eat well, but if I have a day when there is movie watching and cookies, that's okay too. If I had to put a number on it, I would say that as long as I hit those targets 4 times as often as not, then I'm staying consistent. So out of 5 days, I want to see myself hit my targets on 4 of them. If I don't on the fifth, it's okay. That is not to say that every fifth day is a free for all. It means that if one or more of those things doesn't happen, it's okay, as long as I still try. I consistently hit 10,000 steps a day, but some days that I start work early and miss one of our 2 dog walks, sometimes I don't make that target. Everything else on the list generally happens that day. I just miss a step target. On nights I teach classes until 9 and have early clients the next morning, I might be in bed for less than 8 hours. That could also happen on a day I didn't get 10,000 steps. That's still okay. Neither of these things mean that I don't consistently do those things. I do, and the goal is always to do them. But 1 or 2 times in a 7-day period, they can't happen. I still set out to do them whenever I can, and I'm consistent about that. You will not derail your progress in a day or even a week, no matter what you do. I didn't get as unhealthy as I was in 1 day of lethargic living, smoking, and yo-yo dieting, and I didn't get as healthy as I am now in 1 day of being active, eating healthy foods, and treating myself well. If you do your best to hit reasonable targets most days of the week and don't just regularly throw in the towel for a binge fest, then you are being consistent and will make progress towards your goals. Is it okay to have McDonald's once a week? Yep. Is it okay to have some adult beverages each week? Totally. Is it okay to take a rest day and not exercise at all? Sure. There are no hard and fast rules. Is it the best idea to have 1 day a week where you eat nothing but McDonald's, consume a 2-4 to yourself, and lay around watching Netflix? No. Can you do it once in a blue moon? Yes. I mean, I still don't recommend it, But if we're being honest, if you can get yourself back up the next day and get back on track, then it honestly isn't going to impact your progress long term. When this latest lockdown was announced and gyms were closed yet again, several of our members expressed their frustration about losing the progress that they've been making. That is a valid feeling. It is it has really felt like 2 steps forward and 1 step or more back this past year. Not everyone has space or equipment at home to work out, but this is where we have to give ourselves some grace. Rome wasn't built in a day. In fact, at no point did construction there just stop and everyone stepped back and said, "Bam, nailed it. This is Rome. Keep it just like this forever." There were many things that got in the way of building that empire, including outbreaks of sickness that slowed things down or stalled progress altogether. We call them construction delays. Yet here we are using Rome's lengthy building process to demonstrate what you can achieve with hard work and dedication. We respect that naturally there were setbacks in the process, but in the end, they wound up building an epic city. What isn't explicitly stated in those words of wisdom is how much work is done to keep Rome standing, too. Because I promise you, there is a ton of maintenance involved, and that over time, as human needs and technology has changed, there has continued to be work required, and they've just adapted to it. We are no different. Getting to your goals will not happen in one day. All of your progress will not be irretrievably lost in a few weeks or even a couple months. And at no point in this life are you going to look in the mirror and think, "This is it. Now I will just sit here, a perfect human specimen, journey over." Accepting that the journey is never over as long as we're living is a huge part of what allowed me to make peace with my body's constant fluctuations. Sometimes I just adapt the work I'm doing to suit where I'm at. Sometimes I'm honestly doing only what I need to for the whole thing to not fall apart. Just like Rome, the circumstances aren't always ideal for me to be making any progress. That doesn't mean I never will again. If you are in that place, the unmotivated, sad, frustrated, mad, and lonely one, and you're feeling that you're losing your progress or getting further from your goals, remember Rome and give yourself some grace. You are not losing. You're just experiencing construction delays.